If he comes home, I will be scared for not only my life, but my children's lives as well as my family's lives. A lifetime restraining order for me and all of my kids can't stop a serial abuser, pathological liar, narcissistic sociopath, and sometimes maybe even a psychopath. My lifetime sentence will be the trauma of living with what he has done. I am fortunate to have survived, but I will not allow him to control my life. But as a victim of a violent crime, I deserve all of the rights given to a victim, and that includes the safety and protection of the sentence that was given.
We just heard from the survivor of his vicious attack that happened 8 years ago. You might be mortified to find out that he had only been released from prison for 2 weeks before he committed this assault against her, and that a judge had refused, had denied a restraining order between him and the victim just 2 weeks before this occurred. We're going to listen to this parole hearing to see if he's going to get released 2 years early. And at the end, we'll unpack it with all the details. With that, let's jump in.
Kidnapping first, risk of injury to a child. Today, record reflect the parole eligibility date of October 9, 2024. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender is completing following programs. Tier 2, helping them recover, integrated voices, domestic violence, currently as warehouse janitor. Utilizing statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score in the RT falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. So this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. Maybe get.
Dear members of the parole board, thank you for presenting me with this opportunity to speak with you today. I take full responsibility for my actions on April 9, 2016, and I'm sincerely sorry for the hurt and pain I have caused my victims. I would like to apologize to my victims' family, and my community for all the suffering and pain I directly caused. Words cannot fully express how deeply sorry I am for my actions and the impact they have had on our families. In no way, shape, or form do I offer any excuses in defense for my actions. My actions on that regrettable day were inexcusable, and I have forever altered lives in ways I deeply regret. I wish with all my heart that I could undo all the pain and harm I've caused. I pride myself on being a hard worker and applying myself to any opportunity presented to me. The latest opportunity I have been presented with was this parole hearing today. I would like to give a brief rundown of who I am today, what I have accomplished since my time incarcerated, and why I am a good candidate for the privilege of parole. During my time in prison, I have participated in various rehabilitation programs aimed at addressing core issues that led to my incarceration, including voices, domestic violence, and anger management. Through these programs, I have gained an understanding of the ripple effects of my crime. I now know the true widespread and far-reaching effects of my actions on my victims' family, my family, our community, and society as a whole. Anger management helped me gain control over my behavior and my emotions, while being aware of others and my environment. Most importantly, I have learned healthy conflict resolution and how to be assertive rather than aggressive in every situation. Thanks to this education and emotional intelligence, I have been able to stay disciplinary free for 8 years. I now firmly grasp the simple fact that I must think about the impact of my actions before I act. I am tired of destroying my life and hurting others, and I have fully committed to becoming a better man, a better person, and a more productive member of society. When coming to the Enough Second Chance program at Saboski, I gained a whole new perspective. It inspired me to pursue further education and offered me a setting that I could excel in. I am a graduate of the Goodwin University certificate course in business startup. I am also a graduate of the Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery CCAR program, qualifying me as a recovery coach. CCAR gave me the confidence to know I can get into a career where I don't have to be nervous to say I have a felony, speak to the same type of people I spent most of my life hurting, and now put that same time and effort into helping the community. I used to think I was a product of my environment. Now I want to be the product for the environment. Since being in the Second Chance program, I've become a leader and role model in the community by helping others and sharing my own successes, failures, and experiences. I've also applied my time to facilitate 2 groups, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Financial Literacy. Through these groups, I encourage fellow community members to adopt a new mindset, learn how to let money work for them, and equip them with the understanding of the basic financial concept, With this knowledge in hand, they're better able to maintain their money, make sound decisions, and maintain healthy and spending and budgeting habits, which over time can lead to financial wellness. I believe this is an important foundation for any person to reintegrate into society. Waiting for me in the community is a strong support system with multiple mentors and sources of inspiration. My wife and close friends will be a big part of this support, as well as my mentors, Stephen Parkhurst and Jared Bickle, who is also my case manager from a program called SCAD, Proven Pathways to Recovery. With their support and guidance, I am confident in my ability to maintain sobriety and continue on a positive path. Looking back, I realized this prison sentence not only saved my life, it was a necessary journey and a stepping stone in order for me to get my life back on the right path. I have learned to appreciate the small things and value what truly matters. I have risen above my circumstances to greet change and conquer adversity. I can only hope that this letter encourages you to see my growth and give insight into my personal transformation. I ask that you give me the opportunity at redemption so I can return a model citizen to the community. The person that you read about in my police reports tells the story of my past, and I'm here to tell you about the man I am today and will continue to be going forward. I now know that a better tomorrow starts today with the right mindset and proper planning. I'm genuinely remorseful not only for the actions that took place in my crime, but for all the bad things I've done throughout my life. I understand the gravity of my past actions and the impact that they have had. I hope and pray that you see me for the new man I am today and not the man from my past who made all the wrong decisions for all the wrong reasons. Above all, I am blessed to have such a strong and loving support system, and I will never take that for granted again. Everything I do and everything I become is not only for myself, but it's for my wife, my children, my supporters, and my community. I am grateful to still have all that love in my life and want nothing more to be a more active part of theirs. I have an incredible career opportunity doing what I love. And for the first time in my life, I'm not disgusted with what I see in the mirror. I don't ever want to come back to prison, and I have put all my effort into achieving that. I assure you that I am ready to embrace a new chapter in my life. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mims. We appreciate that you took the time to write all that out. You covered a lot of ground with what you learned and how you've benefited from the programs you've completed. So we're going to ask you questions from the documents that we've read, and then we'll turn it over to the Office of Victim Services. Then the three of us will discuss your case, and you'll have our decision this morning. Do you have any questions?
I presented a parole package, and I have the parole package I presented to you guys with me in case you want to go over anything inside of that.
Nope, we're good.
Okay.
So what we're doing today is making a decision about whether it's appropriate at your 85% date, which is in October, to complete your sentence out in the community under supervision before you begin 10 years of special parole. So you've done well with your behavior there in the facility, which has enabled you to complete quite a varied number of programs and work as a janitor. So those are all very positive. And you know, on the other side of the equation, you have a very concerning and lengthy criminal history involving federal convictions as well. And the nature of this particular crime is incredibly serious. Why don't you tell us why you believe you committed this crime?
At the age of that I committed this crime, I was 32. Emotionally and mentally, I was very immature. I didn't act my age. I was broken, and I had nowhere near the knowledge and understanding of life that I have now. And these past 8 years and 15 days leading up to today, I have learned so much about myself from reading books and going to counseling and attending.
The question is why you committed the crime. And you're saying it's because you were immature and broken.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I believe you told the parole officer, Shamroy, when you were interviewed that you were under extreme emotional distress.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And your attorney at sentencing went to great lengths to blame your use of alcohol on the event.
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't intoxicated during committing of the crime.
So what concerns me is that this was a very planned out a crime. You lured the victim to your home on a false pretext. You were on probation at the time. You were 32. You were drinking heavily. And your intent, as you explained to the victim while you beat her, was to kill her. And that you had another victim that you were planning to do the same thing to, while your daughter was there in the room and you committed the assault. So you have 2 standing criminal protective orders against you to the year 2099. Can you tell me what you understand that means?
That I should have no contact, whether written, orally, or verbally, with my victims, and I plan on respecting that to the utmost extent.
Okay, and that is electronically as well.
Electronically as well.
Nothing through social media. Okay. So you had your parental rights terminated, am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
To your daughter. So when you referred to having children, is there more than one child? We only know of your son.
So I have a child with my victim, but also my wife. Before me and her biological child came into the world, there were 2 other kids present.
Are they hers?
Yes, but they call me dad, and I'm a part of their life as well.
Okay. So you can't actually refer to the child you have with the victim as yours because you have no more rights to that child. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Okay. All right. So you got married last March, a year ago.
Yes, ma'am.
It looks like you put your wife on ice. Why is that?
I was at the time, I was receiving red flags over the phone. This is being incarcerated and trying to establish a marriage and hold something down. And at points in time, I had my good time taken away from me. And I thought I was going to be going home sooner. So we were both going through that together, as far as, getting out of here, worldly things going on, people passing away, just life taking a toll. But we have made it through it. We're on a good page right now in life, and we're just ready to be together. And I look forward to, being that father to my son and that role model.
What are the red flags you're referring to, sir?
The red flags is not taking my past, and I don't want to say throwing it in my face, but it's also just not believing me. Like I'm asking you, please give me a moment to let me get out of here and prove myself to you. There's nothing else I can do but write you letters and show you through my hard work and dedication and my school working that I did and my programs that I'm a changed man, and this is why we are married.
So you no longer want to parole to her home. You want a halfway house?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you get married?
I got married because this is the love of my life. She's been around me a while, and she told me one day, the man that you are today, I've seen that man in you a long time ago, but it just sucks that you just had to go to jail to grow up and mature and know that you are a shining light. And her and my mother had a beautiful relationship, and she reminds me so much of my mother in ways that are just crazy. And I love that she is the mother of my son.
And she was aware that your intent that day was also to lure her to the house and kill her as well, right?
Yes, ma'am. She's very aware of that. And
Okay.
Me and her, before we got married and had conversations, this is a very touchy subject with us, and we have moved past it. She understands that at that time, I wasn't in my right frame of mind.
Okay. A lot of people struggle emotionally with, distress and, might feel like they're just not in a good place, and they don't set out to entrap, then beat, and indicate to the victim that they're going to kill them. It's hard for me to understand and fully appreciate where you were at that time to do something so extreme and so violent and so well planned. I mean, you had it all figured out, and to me that doesn't quite match up with emotional distress, but perhaps I don't understand it fully. So you identified in the paperwork that you shared with us that your weaknesses are fear of rejection and abandonment.
Yes, ma'am.
So, rejection, can be part of life. Abandonment can be experienced in a variety of different ways with, family members who pass away, relationships that the people just ghost you and they're done. So how are you going to deal with those feelings when you're back out in the community? Because you will be, and you'll have 10 years of special parole supervision. How are you going to deal with those feelings?
It's a beautiful thing. Me and my wife have turned a page where we have counseling sessions over the phone with each other. And one thing I know now, when I feel those feelings, ask for help. I didn't know how to ask for help before. I let my pride get in the way. I lived a false reality of being this person, this macho man, when I wasn't really him. I was just a boy trapped in a man's body at one point in time.
Okay, so now, you're in a relationship, let's say, and the person decides it's not working. I want out. I'm going to move. You go about your life. I'm going to take a different direction. Who are you going to reach out to help for? Who are you going to ask for help?
There's a guy that's a mentor of mine. His name is Stephen Parkhurst, and I've spent a lot of years with him behind the wall. And he's just somebody I can reach out to, not only for advice, but just sometimes when I need to vent. And I call him throughout the week here, just to vent about being nervous coming here today. But not only that, I'm growing and mature. I've learned to accept the word no the same way I accept the word yes and keep it moving.
Okay. So, in the pre-sentence investigation, you referred to the relationship with the victim as, there not being any commitment between you. I guess because maybe you were still in the relationship with your son's mother. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So why would you choose to go through her phone and assault her every time you saw something in the phone that you didn't like?
Ma'am, that was just a bad choice of judgment on that whole day. I understand the seriousness and the nature of my crime. Like I said in my letter, I wish I could, go through and undo the harm that I've caused, because there's so many consequences that other people were affected by other people due to my actions.
I'm just trying to understand, was that your insecurity? Was it the jealousy? I mean, you have to have healthy boundaries in a relationship for it to work. So, you weren't in a committed relationship with the victim, but yet you felt well within your rights to go through her phone and then hold her accountable for things you didn't like that had nothing to do with you, and assault her when you saw things that you didn't like?
Ma'am, that did happen. Moving forward, I can just tell you about how I would proceed forward. That man that you read about, I'm no longer that man. I can assure you of that by not only by the words that I say out of my mouth right now, but by the actions of when I get out of this place, out there in the community, on parole, on special parole.
Okay. Well, you've got a good support systems. You're connected to services. So I sincerely hope you will follow through and understand that your parole officer can be a resource to you. They want you to be successful, and they can help you with services and programs. Mr. Dargan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, sir. My name's doing great. Yourself?
Not bad. So just a couple of follow-ups. You had conversation with my colleague about when she asked you about asking for help, right? So we hear that a lot from guys, right? Right, and you said it. It's a male macho thing, right? You thought you could do everything yourself, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So has the programming that you've taken, has that been of help to have you understand maybe what was going on?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. So the emotional intelligence education that I got from the program, as well as, how to be assertive instead of aggressive in in all the situations. There's just that moment in time where I can pause and not only think about my reaction, but think about my thoughts and how I have core values.
Okay. So, well, just one other question. As far as employment, you have the opportunity to work for Chuck and Eddie's. I thought that was in New Haven. Is there one out?
Yes, sir. So there's one out in Hartford, but I want to say something else too about employment. They had a job resource fair here not too long ago in a gymnasium, and I met a few amazing people, and they run a staffing agency for returning citizens. And I had a very in-depth conversation with the guy and let him know that I was coming up for parole. He says, I'm not able to write you anything, but if you come out with a resume and a cover letter that I was presenting to him in the gymnasium that day, he says, I could find you a job, Mr. Mills. Because I also have a certification in forklift operation. And I've worked in previous warehouses before where I've left on a good note. And I don't really see it being a problem for me gaining another job.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Champ.
Mr. Mintz, I just want to follow up on one thing because I want to make sure that I heard what you said. So in reading your interview with the parole officer and the chair of our hearing today, you mentioned a couple of things from what I read. First, you said you were immature and broken at age 32. Your attorney said you were having problems with alcohol. And then you also said you didn't have any guidance or structure at the time.
Yes, ma'am.
So having said all of that, were you able to resolve what was going on with you and address that specific problems that you were having at age 32?
Yes, ma'am. So from the age of 32 to 40 years old now, I was able to address those throughout my incarceration. I signed up voluntarily for a lot of programs, including the Second Chance program I'm in right now. I filled out an application, waited the time, explained to the person that was in charge of it how I feel that this program could benefit me not only now, this day and time in my life, but also to help with, further in my life when I get out of here. But I just participated in a pre-release program with Counselor Altieri. I'm not sure if you got that information there in front of you.
Yes, we got all of that. I just wanted to hear it from you because I noticed that depending on who's talking to you, that you had something a little different to say. What do you think, and I know you mentioned this before, but I need clarification on it. You speak about the positive relationship that you have with your current wife, who you've been married to for 1 year. And you spoke about all the positive things that you've both been doing on the phone. With saying all those great things, what was the reason for your choice to go to a halfway house?
My reason to go to choice for a halfway house is we are still growing in our marriage, and
let me stop here and ask you something. The young lady that you've been married to for a year,
yes,
it was my understanding that you've been having an on and off relationship with her for the last 25 years because you both knew each other when you were younger.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so even after 25 years, you still have things to work out.
So the things that we're working out now is me being able to get the best resources and tools for my reentry into society. Where she lives at in Connecticut, there are not that many resources, and the mentors that I have in place are near halfway houses that I would sign up for. So that would be part of my reasoning for going to a halfway house. My wife and my child, they come to see me about twice a week for in contact visits. So that hour and a half drive would be lesser at the halfway house. So she'll be able to come visit with me. And it's another part of the process of me getting out of prison. And me and her have had a very in-depth conversation about that.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome,
Okay, at
ma'am.
this time, sir, we're going to turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services. You are not to speak. Ms. DeJesus?
Good morning, board members. I do have the victim on the line. This is your opportunity to express to the board your wishes and your concerns. I am to remind you that you are to address the panel members only, and you may begin.
Before I start speaking, I just have to say it is my constitutional right as a victim of severe domestic violence and a planned murder-suicide to speak regardless of any agreement made or signed under any emotional trauma I was going through. One thing I regret is not attending Christopher Mims' sentencing. He had everyone fooled. When I read the article in the paper and saw his statement, I was immediately sick to my stomach. He made many statements that were a fabrication made up in his mind. One of those statements was that my daughter was never in the room with us during the attack. She was, in fact, in that locked room the entire time and never left the room as long as I was conscious. My daughter remained in that room with her hog-tied mother, witnessing the brutal attack that lasted for hours. I can still hear her screams every time he hit me or stomped on my face, head, or body. I can still hear her little voice begging him to tie her shoes to go to the park. Please, can we go to the park now? Please, can we just go? She just wanted out and could not handle witnessing any of this any longer. I am grateful that she and I are alive and that she did not get hurt as full 12 packs of soda were thrown and crashed through the wall right near her. The more he drank, the more reckless he got and cared less about her well-being. I can't say what happened all the times that I was unconscious, but I do know that dumping Coca-Cola down my throat or spitting in my mouth was not going to be enough to wake me. He planned this entire event while completing only a 6-month prison sentence for almost breaking my jaw, as well as another domestic case involving his then girlfriend, which was not his other child's mother. Even though he has domestic cases with her and has had DCF involved with his son. I did not see my face the day of the April 9th, 2016 event until I got home that night. I was shocked at what I saw. The next morning and the weeks after were entirely worse. I hope everyone in the room has seen the pictures of what he did to me. The ligature marks on my wrists and ankles are still a shadow permanently on my body. I will have vertigo for the rest of my life from the size 13 stomps to my head, face, and ears. Never mind the anxiety and panic attacks as well as the PTSD. He got away with sexual assault that day. They asked me if I was sexually assaulted. I responded by saying I was not sure as I was unconscious multiple times, but I did remember waking up and my sweats being crooked and my bottom feeling wet. They did the rape kit just in case. Thank God they did. I found out weeks later that he did in fact sexually assault me that day, even though I do not remember what had happened or even the extent of what was done. All I know is his DNA was found. Keeping in mind my 2-year-old daughter witnessed this sexual assault along with the brutal beating. He knew what he was doing and knew what he did. As soon as the detectives picked him up from the hospital, he told them that we had consensual sex. He was saying and doing whatever he could to get himself out of more trouble. I would have never in my right mind have ever knowingly had any sexual contact with him. They decided not to charge him with that as the kidnapping charge made more sense for us. So congrats to him, he got away with sexual assault and not having to be on the sexual offender registry. Too bad we can't say that about the child abuse and neglect registry that he is on more than once due to his inability not to abuse women and put children in danger even if they are his own flesh and blood. All I can remember after getting away was him yelling down that driveway to the mail truck I was standing at, screaming, "If I go to jail for this, I will kill you the day I come home." I cannot imagine what he could have planned in all these years. He will manipulate any person into thinking he has changed. Truth is, he hasn't changed. He is not capable of changing. He should be made to sit in prison for the rest of his life. Unfortunately for myself, if I happen to be a victim again or his next victim, he will be out in the world again walking free, free to abuse women as he sees fit. Now, for the rest of my life, I must watch over my shoulder and my child that much harder. I must protect all 4 of my girls the hardest because he won't discriminate on who he hurts as long as he hurts me. On that day, he just wanted to get to me, and unfortunately, I allowed him to manipulate me again. After a 5-year relationship with him where I was beaten, bruised, and battered the entire time, put in the hospital while I was pregnant, and so much more, I still was stupid enough to believe that he wanted to be a father. He just wanted to get to me as he couldn't stand the fact that after over a year of us being separated, I had finally moved on. He has ruined my life, my view on any relationships I have with anyone. If he comes home, I will be scared for not only my life, but my children's lives as well as my family's lives. A lifetime restraining order for me and all of my kids can't stop a serial abuser, pathological liar, narcissistic sociopath, and sometimes maybe even a psychopath. My lifetime sentence will be the trauma of living with what he has done. I am fortunate to have survived, but I will not allow him to control my life. But as a victim of a violent crime, I deserve all of the rights given to a victim, and that includes the safety and protection of the sentence that was given. That is, that his sentence is handed down by the court of law should be carried out completely. Based on his history of violence towards women, there is no guarantee that these crimes won't be repeated. I do not believe that he has learned anything and definitely did not change. If anything, this time has made him more of a monster and demon. Unfortunately, the people in this room listening to my story don't know enough about him to know that he in fact has not changed and that he will strike again. They don't know the real Christopher Mims. There is no helping someone like him. I know this as well as several other women that I would never name without their consent. The only place for someone like him and his capabilities is prison or a mental institution. Please, for the safety of women and children, keep him where he is. If he is let out, he should not be allowed in New London County as that is too close for comfort for me. I believe he will 100% come looking for me somehow, some way. If it was not planned already, he will plan it upon release. Thank you.
That's all I have, board members.
Okay, thank you to the victim for that input. All right, so as far as deliberation goes, that was incredibly powerful and impactful to hear from the victim, who appears to have suffered tremendously as a result of the actions of Mr. Mims. As mentioned before, the crime was committed while he was on probation. He's been unsuccessful 4 out of 5 opportunities he's been afforded at community release based on the serious nature of the offenses. He was given 10 years of special parole, and I think it's appropriate that he goes out at end of sentence to complete those years on special parole. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm on the same page, just set the special parole conditions.
Ms. Chance?
I absolutely agree.
Okay, so I have halfway house domestic violence programming, no consumption of alcohol, and no contact with victims, initials MC, MV, and LR.
I agree.
Anything to add? Do we want, how about a mental health evaluation and treatment is deemed necessary?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Mims, in the matter of Christopher Mims, inmate number 284151, there's a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: your criminal history, the nature and circumstances of your offense is being committed while you were on probation, and the injury and impact to the victims and the victim's family. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I further move to set the following conditions for your 10 years of special parole. You're to have a halfway house placement. You're to engage in behavior management for domestic violence. You're not to consume any alcohol. You're to have a mental health evaluation and treatment as deemed necessary. And you're to have no contact with the victims, initials MC, MV, and LR. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Mims.
Ma'am, thank you for your time. Have a nice day.
This concludes the hearing for Christopher Mims, inmate number 284151.
Pretty terrifying, if you ask me. I mean, and to add insult to injury, to think that he was released for just 2 weeks from prison. A judge denied a restraining order, and in just 2 weeks, he does this to her. And then they only give him a 10-year sentence, and they allow him to plea under the Alfred plea for some reason. He was facing up to 36 years if he had gone to trial. They don't charge him with the sexual assault, even though it seems that they had the kit and proof of it. They don't charge him with attempted murder. They don't charge, it's like they get, and isn't it clear that he is dangerous? Isn't this the exact type of case that we can actually see, oh my God, in 2 years when he gets out, what do you think is going to happen? This is like the epitome of the system not protecting its constituency, not clear. I mean, what he did, we'll go through the details. And it's so vicious, and we heard from it. I mean, he planned on killing 2 people that day. He did plan it all out. And then you hear from him that one of the women, I don't know if it's the same woman, because I believe he has a restraining order against her, but this parole board, they didn't really go into, I mean, I think they did a good job in the sense that they just denied, and they seemed disgusted by the whole scenario. But at the same time, it was like, well, maybe I just don't understand the situation. I don't know if that was sarcasm, but they thankfully he had 10 years of special parole. Otherwise, they might have granted. They like to grant when it's flat, when it's a flat sentence, when there's no special parole, because they like to add conditions. But okay, let's jump in, and thank you, Richard, for the info. And what a mic drop by that survivor. It takes so much courage. And she, after all this time, she you could tell she wishes that she would have attended the sentencing or maybe been more involved. And now she kind of took back her power there, and good for her. We know how difficult that is. And she stood up, she stood strong. And I think it's very important to acknowledge that. And she stood strong alone, no DA, right? She's alone. And it takes courage. Listen to what he did to her, and just like meditate on the type of courage that takes to stand strong to him, because it was scary. She thought she was going to die. So he was involved after he did this, he was involved in a 6-hour standoff with the police Saturday. He'd been arraigned on charges of beating, threatening his ex-girlfriend for hours in front of their child, right? Like he actually took the child in the room. The child probably saw the sexual assault. So he was 32 at the time, which is interesting how he brings it up. I was 32, as if he was young, 32. He is accused of risk of injury to minor, second-degree assault, threatening the first degree. I don't know, again, why this is all that they charged him with and not more. Judge Hillary found probable cause to charge Mims and left his bail unchanged at $750,000. The judge issued a protective order forbidding Mims having contact with his ex-girlfriend and children. Sadly, the protective order was 2 weeks late. Why a court would not give a protective order by a man who's being released from prison to begin with, when a woman and a child is asking for it, is beyond me. According to the report, the prosecutor from Ledyard Police, Mims, invited his former girlfriend and their child to the home in Stony Brook Road at around 11 a.m. Now you might say, well, why did she go there? Well, this is why she went. He told her that he wanted to introduce her to a sponsor so she would feel comfortable leaving the child with him. This is their shared child. So she thought she's going to meet a sponsor outside the home. She didn't plan on going inside the home. The woman told police that Mims then met outside. He picked the child up and walked towards the house. When they got near it, police said Mims grabbed the woman by the hair and shirt and pulled her inside. Once inside, he told her that the sponsor was in another room, so she followed him. Now, why he pulls her by the hair and then she felt, but this is how they decide to write it, right? Mims locked the door behind her and the child and ordered the woman to read aloud from a notebook he had written. So he gets in the bedroom, he locks the door, and he makes her read a notebook. And in the notebook, it says that he was going to kill anyone responsible for putting him in jail, telling her, "You are going to die today." Mims then tied her hands and feet and punched and kicked her for hours. Mims told the woman that he planned to kill her and the mother of his other child, then take the children to his mother's house and off himself. The woman said that after pleading with him, eventually Mims agreed to cut her ropes off. When he left the room to answer the door, police said the woman called 911, grabbed her child, who had been in the room the whole time, and ran towards the door. Now, we'll get into even more details. When he took the rope off, he used a knife to cut the rope off, just to put more psychological trauma. Christopher will be sentenced to 10 years in prison, followed by 10 years of special parole. He pleaded guilty to first-degree kidnapping and risk of injury to a minor following months of pretrial negotiations between supervisor, assistant state's attorney Lawrence J. Tider, and attorney Fred. Months of negotiations. And the public defender. He admitted also to 2 counts of violation of probation stemming from the earlier DV. And again, only 2 years. Mims entered a guilty plea, and they give him the luxury of entering a guilty plea. Let's remember this was a sexual assault as well, which they didn't charge her with, again, because they don't care about the victims, the survivors, the child that had to watch this. You can't possibly care to agree to a deal like this, and it's just 10 years. And think about this. He was out for 2 weeks before he committed this crime. Why is this a 10-year deal? Why not just go to trial? Now, which indicates that he doesn't agree with the state's version of the case, but he does not want to take a risk of trial. And they told him he could be sentenced up to 38 years if convicted of the charges to which he pled guilty. Mims had been held on $750,000 when he was arrested after a lengthy standoff and is currently incarcerated. During the court hearing, the 6'5" Mims wore handcuffs, shackles, and an orange jumpsuit. He said he wants to take a nursing program. Can you imagine? I can't imagine that they would allow him to be a nurse with these charges. I would really hope not. In prison so that he would be able to find employment upon his release. The woman is aware of the plea deal and may attend the sentencing, according to the victim, but we know she didn't. And she regrets it, but she got her power back. It's taking a stance here, in my opinion. According to the court records, the testimony, Mims had been released from prison 2 weeks before the incident after a 6-month prison stint for DV, involving a different victim. On the day of his release, the kidnapping, he's a serial violent man, right? What do you think is going to happen when he gets out? Like, really? Good for his wife to have at least, had second thoughts. It was interesting how he tried to phrase that, but she was fine being married with him in prison, but once he gets closer to his release, he's like, maybe not a good idea. But a judge dismissed the case after conducting a hearing. So On the day of his release, the kidnapping victim attempted to obtain a restraining order, but the judge, the all-wise judge, dismissed the case after conducting a hearing and determining that the applicant had not met the statutory requirements. So being locked up for DV, doing multiple criminal stints in prison, and you say, no, you're not getting it. Okay. Obviously, the judge was very smart. It took just 2 weeks for him to almost kill her. Mims invited the woman to his home to meet his sponsor so that she would feel more comfortable leaving the child with him. Imagine if you had been alone with the child without the sponsor. I mean, anyways, according to a report prepared by Ledyard police, he met her outside, picked up the child, and grabbed the victim by the hair and shirt and pulled her into the house. No sponsor was present. The woman said Mims told her, "You're going to die today." Over the course of 4.5 hours with the child present in the bedroom, he drank nip, which is bottles of alcohol, as he repeatedly kicked and punched the woman. He tied her hands and feet with a rope and forced her to read from the notebook of his writings. She said she got knocked unconscious several times. Mims told the woman he planned to kill her and the mother of her child to take the children to the victim's mother's house and then off himself. Eventually, the woman said she talked Mims into untying her and used a large kitchen knife to cut the rope. Imagine him taking a kitchen knife out and her seeing that. She said that she left the room when somebody came to the door and she took her daughter and fled, calling 911. She said she saw a woman delivering mail and asked her to call for help. Over the next 6 hours, police said Mims refused to leave her home, his home during the standoff. So Richard also shared, it showed that he had done a 5-year prison stint and from 2007 for dealing of Pepsi. So, he's pretty much been in prison most of his life. But this is the system, right? I am scared. Can you imagine? It's just 2 more years and he's going to get out. And I don't know what we have seen to make you think that he's not going to hurt someone else. And it is just beyond me how we see over and over and over again the inmates get wives in prison with the worst kind of offenses. And it's just like, there are so many fish in the sea. What is that attraction? That's a whole different story in itself. I have seen different interviews about it, prison wives and things like that. And it's, what can you do? So thank you, Richard, for sharing this information. And again, I just want to call out for the survivor for taking the courage to stand up. It takes a lot, and she did it alone. And with that, I'll let you go.
Is it still your position that you did not make these 32 phone calls? Well, obviously, because you're contesting it, right? Okay, so you understand that the victim in this case has a protective order against you, right?
Yes,
do you
ma'am.
do you admit to cutting her when you came into her house?
No.
So what do you admit to?
No, I'm saying I admit to the phone calls. I mean, that case was actually thrown out.
Right.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a man out of the state of Connecticut who is serving a 6-year sentence for many different crimes. But one that sticks out is his continued violation of his restraining order. He also would do things like reach out to the DA, and he picked up new charges while being locked up. It's a 6-year sentence. I think that this brings a special magnifying glass to this case after what happened in the state of Illinois. Let's jump in and watch it. I'll unpack it.
This is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this afternoon and by stating their names on the record to certify that they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Good afternoon, I'm Panel Member Page.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Thank you, board members. Sir, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Yes, ma'am. It's Junior Jump 345844.
Thank you, Mr. Jump. And again, I appreciate your patience with us today. So thank you very much for that. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Mr. Junior Jump, inmate number 345844. He's serving a total effective sentence of 10 years, suspended after 6. This is followed by 5 years probation. And this for 2 counts of tampering with physical evidence, forgery 2nd degree, burglary 3rd degree, assault 3rd degree, violation of protective order, interfering with officer, harassment 2nd degree, and lastly, engaging police in pursuit. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of October 15, 2023. This is at 50% eligibility. There is no victimhood in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for this offender. It has been reviewed and shows that the offender has completed the facility-based domestic violence program. It remains on the Department of Correctional waiting list for 5 or 7-day job assignment, and vocational needs to be assessed. This is according to the RT3M query I ran today. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk system, evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the high range of risk for recidivism. Mr. John, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Yes, since I have been in, I have completed all the program that, the program that they have set for me to do. I do have some goals. If I were to be granted parole and work and stuff set up for me out there in the community. And the offense itself, I don't know if y'all want to go talk about the DRs or whatever. I had sent in a whole bunch of a stack of documents also that I wanted to be reviewed. I don't know if y'all.
We sure did. We got it.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do. Do you want us to just ask you questions then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Jump, thank you for your statement. We'll begin our questions with Ms. Page.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Jump, we did receive your lengthy 100 and some odd page.
I did also send some DRs.
Yep.
And the appeal with the DRs is
Yeah. So that
I try to have the counselor send the appeal to Miss Ballard.
yeah.
I try to have the counselor send the update on those this morning, but he didn't have the time to do it because he left early or whatever. But yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we're not here. Like, we're not a court of law, and we're not judges to determine you're innocent or guilt.
Yeah.
We understand that you are contesting several things. We also received information that you're applying for a sentence mod, and that you also asked for a modification based on illegal sentence. So we saw all of those things.
Yeah, I do have.
That's not our job. That's not our job. So
Yeah.
our job is suitability. And is it still your position that you did not make these 32 phone calls? Well, obviously, because you're contesting it, right? You said that you were in confinement at the time in restrictive housing, and that you didn't even have phone privileges, right?
Then again, I didn't hear you.
You were in restricted housing for the 32 times that you for the violation of the protective order, where you contacted the victim 32 times from prison.
Yes.
That's what you're contesting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not really sure what there is for us to talk about. You did complete the program as requested, but one of the things that stood out for me in the evaluation from the program participation, it was an overall good evaluation, but you received, in terms of responsibility, it says that you were marked as fair. Why do you think that?
Now I'm trying to find it right now. Which one you're talking about?
For domestic violence.
Yeah. Talking about the participation completing.
Not the completed form, for the evaluation. For the most part, it's a good evaluation, but for where it says responsibility, the very last box, I think, the box before the last one, it says fair.
Yeah,
Tell us why.
why it says, I didn't put that, there, they did.
I know, but why would they mark it fair?
I mean, I
If
can't,
you
I
got
don't,
excellent, excellent for attendance, good on, your homework assignments and all of that stuff, why would they give you a fair, which is considered, fairly low, in my opinion?
yeah, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying now. So the reason why, I think the reason why, because I mean, I said before, I mean, none of these phone conversations was like any threats or nothing like that. So I mean, it was just like regular conversation.
Okay, so you understand that the victim in this case has a protective order against you, right?
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
admit to cutting her when you came into her house?
No.
So what do you admit to?
No, I'm saying I admit to the phone calls. I mean, that case was actually thrown out
Right.
because of GPS or whatever. Yeah.
No, not because of a GPS, but because I think you have so many cases. First of all, it's easy to be confused.
Uh-huh.
But what we're talking about here is you have a violation of the protective orders where you contacted the victim using someone else's pen 32 times. You
Yes.
admit to doing that? Because I
Yes.
thought you, okay,
Yes.
all right. So but you do not admit to the actions that led to your receiving this violation of the protective order.
No, ma'am.
Why does she have a protective order against you then?
I mean, it was for that case, but that case was eventually nollied.
The burglary 3? Which case are you referring to?
It is the burglary.
Burglary 3. It was not nollied.
No, the assault was nollied. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, no. There's an assault third.
Yeah, there's an assault third too.
Yeah, the assault third, but not what you just said just now about the cutting. Nah.
Well, the nature of the offense doesn't go away just because the charges were nollied. It says that you stabbed the victim, you cut the victim with scissors. You showed up unannounced at her house and beat her up.
Yes.
You agree that you did that?
Yeah, I mean, I took full responsibility for it, yes.
What does that mean?
Like, I mean, it never actually went down like how they say that went down, but I mean, I do take full responsibility for the action that I did.
What did you do?
Pushed her and stuff like that, yes.
Oh. So you didn't beat her up, you didn't punch her?
No, it wasn't, no.
And you didn't cut her with scissors?
Nope.
So how'd she get the laceration on her arm?
She cut herself. And they had
She cut herself and called the police?
Yes.
Wow.
But I did push her though.
Okay.
I mean,
How
they
many
had
times have you done the domestic violence class course?
just once.
Okay. Because I see some stuff in your history, like I see a breach of peace, a threatening second in 2011.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if those were domestic related as well, intimate partner.
No, I mean, that case right there, the threatening, that was between me and my uncle.
So do you think you have an anger problem?
I mean, sometimes, I guess.
And so how do you handle your anger now?
I mean, you say, how do I handle my anger now?
Yeah. Can you hear me clearly?
You going in and out a little bit.
Maybe it's a poor connection.
Yeah, but you say, how do I handle my anger now?
Yes.
By making better choices and walk away, stuff that I learned from the DV classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever participate in an anger management class?
On the outside, Willow Clinic, yes. That was part of it.
How many times?
Just once for that old case when I was on probation.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Jump, I have to be honest with you and say, you know, you received 10, if my math is right, disciplinary infractions. All of them imply that there was some kind of threat or violence. And your convictions, that's the reason that you're here now, those offenses, in my opinion, are considered also violent. And I'm happy to see that you completed the domestic violence program, but based on our conversation, I think that you are going through the motion. Like, do you really think that you can avoid this stuff when you're released out into the community? Do you think you won't be back?
I don't think I will be back. I mean, as I said, I have a goal, and I have made steps to rehabilitate myself and know how to handle stuff differently. I mean, while I was out, before I came back in when I got sentenced, I mean, I had 3 jobs, I had stuff that I was doing. And that's part of the
job. I saw that the last job that you had was it FedEx, where you worked 7 months? No?
Yeah, I had 3 jobs.
What other jobs?
I was working at Cross Country, KFC, and FedEx. That's all in the
Yeah.
in the second stuff that I sent, and
It's in the report that the officer prepared as well. I just didn't write it down.
yeah, and it's in the stuff that Judge Pelusi has, February 13. Kind of a breakdown of everything.
Yeah. Mr. Jim, I really hope that you're successful in your future endeavors, and it really sounds like you're trying to get rid of all of convictions that you've received. And I really do hope that you are successful at that, you know, because based on the information that we have here and the fact that you haven't been very successful on prior community releases.
I never been out on community release before.
You never been on probation?
Probation, yeah, but not like
That's just community release. That's a community release. That's a release, a supervised release in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you still have some work to do, sir. So I do appreciate your speaking with me, and I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so other than the domestic violence program, have you done any other programming, sir?
No, I mean, I had signed up for other stuff, but I haven't been able to get on there. But the DV was the only thing that was on my OAP. But I have.
Well, I understand, but you could still volunteer for other programs.
No, I did, but I never been. I was in Osborne, and they moved me here.
Yeah.
So it's like and they told me here that they have a long list. So
okay,
I haven't been able to. I had signed up for the good choice by intentions, whatever, and I never got
intentions, bad choices. Yep.
Yeah, I never got into it because.
Okay.
I said I was moved. That's some of the documents that's in here too. Other stuff that I had.
Well, yeah, we read that, but I was just asking you today. We're talking about today.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just trying to see if you have any additional information to offer.
Yes.
Okay, and what about work? Are you working now?
No, I just moved to the part that I'm in right now.
Okay, so how do you spend your time? What do you do all day?
Read. I mean, I try to do a lot of legal stuff. I help other people do legal stuff. I mean, that's how I do my time. For now, I mean, I'm on a waiting list, but you have people. This is a prison. You have people that's doing 100 years. I've been on the list, and people that have been on the list months ago. So.
Yeah, we know. We understand how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So. The council just told me that I'm on the list. I just gotta wait.
Yeah. Okay. So I did read about your pending sentence modification. And what are you asking for in that sentence mod?
Probation.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get some of the probation time removed. I mean,
right.
The sentence itself, I believe that is kind of like excessive. But again, that's
the probation part of it. You're not asking. Are you asking to reduce the 6 years too?
No, probation.
Just the
Some of the-
probation.
Like half of it, like 2.5, 3 years probation off of the 5.
Okay. And tell me why 5 years probation is too long for you.
I never said it was too long for me. I'm just saying like the sentence itself
Okay.
for the alleged,
Well, there's
the
a lot
crime.
of convictions here. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I only have I'm only got like 2 convictions I got probation on.
Yeah.
The one count of violation of protective order phone call, and the other one for the temporal evidence forgery second.
Yeah.
All the other ones is like time served and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have done assess like a lot of time on these cases already.
Yeah. But that's sometimes part of the deal. You get time served on some and then they add time to another. I mean, and why, let me ask you a question. Why
Yes.
would you send letters to the assistant state's attorney?
It was foolish at the time. I mean, it was
What
foolish
were
at
you
the
hoping
time.
to gain?
No, I was kind of like upset about what they was doing.
So you reacted to your anger. You let your anger get the best of you?
I wouldn't say let the anger get the best of me. I mean, I didn't write anything really bad. It wasn't threatening or nothing like that. It just was like, but
Say when you use their home address, why didn't you send it to her office? That's
No.
threatening in and of itself.
no, it wasn't. I had the home address, but it wasn't. I never sent it to the home address.
Well, how did they know you had the home address?
Like when they did a cell shakedown,
Okay.
I had FOI that individual with the state's attorney with the state's attorney chief state's attorney office FOI the personal records.
Yeah. Wow.
That information was in there and they took it from me.
Why would you need that information?
Yeah, right. I mean, what are you looking up her home address for?
No, I was looking at it to see if she ever been suspended before. I asked for the personal file, if any disciplinary.
Okay.
See if she have a history of doing stuff before. That's what I was looking for, but that information was in there. So when they shake my cell down,
yeah.
and
Well,
they found,
I mean, you got a conviction, a harassment conviction, so they saw it a little differently.
yeah, because of that situation, yes, ma'am, I do.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, this is 2018. I mean, it's years ago, but.
Well, I mean,
understand what
the behavior has continued over the years, so it's kind of all run into each other, basically. When was your last conviction? 23, but the offense was actually in what, 19?
Yeah.
So they all go back.
2018.
19?
2018.
Well, you have the tampering and the
Yeah.
forgery is 2019.
19, yeah, it's your last conviction,
Yeah.
or your last offense.
Offense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, so it's not unreasonable for us to talk about 18, 19, because that's your most recent offenses. You've been incarcerated.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I certainly hope that you've turned a corner, and it seemed to me like you made a bad situation worse.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
All right, Ms. Palmieri.
I have no questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, give us some time to discuss your case. You can listen to our deliberation, and we're going to give you our decision shortly. Ms. Page,
You want me to
you
leave?
can listen. No, you can listen.
Thank you. So, it's obvious that Mr. Jump is a very intelligent young man. I just wish that he would utilize all those skills that he has.
Yeah.
Out in the community doing positive things and helping others. Unfortunately, I really see very little evidence of change in Mr. Jump based on his convictions up to his last disciplinary infraction in February of this year with the same behaviors threatening. I I'm glad to see that he's participated in the programs. And I really do hope that he's successful with his probation. But my vote would be to deny him today based on his 10 tickets, the courts of institutional adjustment. His criminal history is very concerning and lengthy, and inadequate evidence of offender change. And I do not have him returning.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri.
I would agree with panel member Page. I would not be able to vote in favor of his today for those same reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate, as you said, he is a smart man, but hopefully when he gets out, he can use that intelligence for good stuff. All right, in the matter of junior jump, inmate number 345844, I'll make a motion to deny parole for the following reasons. Your criminal history, your poor institutional adjustment, the tickets, and inadequate evidence of offender change. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you have questions, sir? You understand? Well, unfortunately, we couldn't grant you parole today, sir.
No, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, this concludes the parole hearing for Mr. Junior Jump, 345844. Thank you. Best of luck to you, Mr. Jump. Would you have the seal send in the next gentleman?
All right.
Thank you.
You know, especially after seeing the case in Illinois, this kind of thing scares me. And, you know, you might have your own opinion, your own takeaway, but it feels to me like he's been sitting here and brewing in it, and like almost a buildup of anger. There's a lot that I've seen that I'll go over, but he, you know, here's a charge that I'll go through that shows that he was charged with evidence tampering. He also has another accusation or charge where he faked a COVID test, and they caught him on that, which is quite interesting. It might be saying something that they would go and look at that, because he had to show up to court and he faked his COVID test result to not make it there. There's also something that this man does when they asked him, so what do you do with your time? And he said, oh, read. And he has filed, Richard put in the section, he used up all the rows in the spreadsheet and had to go on a second row. I can't even count. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, something like 23 different court filings, motions, appeals. So, you know, you can look at that how you want. You might say, like the board said, well, he's smart if he can maybe focus his energy somewhere else. But still the idea that he's trying to get out of what is clearly, you know, he's going to say, oh, no, she stabbed herself. And it's like, come on, man. Oh, those phone calls. Yeah, those never happened. And it's those type of things that are scary. You're sitting in there, in my opinion, scary, you know, brooding in all the injustices happening to you when you just take a step back and look at it like you broke into her apartment. You stabbed her with scissors. You're locked up because of that. Then you called her 23 times. And it's like, from while you have the restraint, like, what do you think is going to happen when he gets out? And all of this being said and done, it seems to me like the warning signs are flashing. Everything is beeping. This is scary. Watch out. And he's going to get out no matter what in 3 years anyways. And you think a piece of paper restraining order is going to do anything? You know, you could see that the DA cured when all of a sudden they found out that he had her address. The DA, the assistant DA all of a sudden cared. That was brought up. But when it's his victim's address, what's the big deal? Here's a restraining order. Those charges were nullied. I think it brings some interesting contrast when things like that happen, right? He has the assistant DA's address, but when he stabs her with the scissor, breaks into her home, those charges are nullied. What's the big deal? But so here's one thing that we can talk about. So Hartford inmate charged with evidence tampering. A prison inmate was arrested and charged with altering prison records to produce false evidence to use in a criminal case where he was charged with making harassing phone calls from behind bars. He was arrested Tuesday by inspectors, statewide prosecutor bureau of the Office of Chiefs of Attorneys, and warned charging with tampering, fabricating physical evidence, of forgery in the second degree. Isn't it interesting that this is where they get him on? According to the arrest warrant affidavit, Jump altered documents he obtained from the Department of Corrections while in custody in an attempt to show that he could not have made harassing phone calls where he is charged and making while in the DOC custody. It wasn't interesting. Also, he's pretending he couldn't hear them on the phone, and they're like, "Do we have a connection problem?" Jump 38, a former resident of Hartford, submitted and altered documents, evidence of a recent criminal trial in New Britain court, multiple counts of violation of a protective order, allegedly making calls to a person who was prohibited in contacting under the protective order. Jump was arraigned in late charges where the court was bonded set $500, and this case continued until June 25th. Fabricating physical evidence, second-degree felony, 5 years prison each count. And then let's see, there's another one. Here's the COVID testing thing. This is in 2021. Hartford man charged with faking positive COVID tests. Interesting that this makes the paper, right? It makes you wonder, I wonder who leaked the information for this to even make a headline. All the stuff we see that doesn't make headlines, but this does. Connecticut, Hartford man was charged with illegally fabricating positive COVID tests to avoid appearing in court. Jump 31 was arrested Tuesday, charged with one count of forgery in the second degree. According to the arrest, it just shows when the DA, if you mess with the ADAs or the DA office, I mean, don't mess with them, right? They'll do what they need to do to protect themselves or to send a message or to win an ego war. But when it comes to just protecting a regular, constituency or a child, we see that they don't really care for the most part. According to the arrest warrant, Jump was out on bond following his arrest in connection with a number of criminal cases. And he was on, it was only $500 bond, right? On November 16th, Hartford police arrested him on a warrant charging him with threatening the second degree and breach of peace in the second degree. South Windsor police arrested him on a warrant charging him with interfering with an officer and breach of the peace. On November 29th, Jump's defense counsel told the state attorney he received a screenshot from Jump appearing to be positive COVID-19 test notification. The judge excused Jump from appearing the following day. According to the state's Division of Criminal Justice, investigator revealed notification was forged and allegedly fabricated. How do you prove that it was forged? Jump is being held on $25,000 bond. He currently has 11 pending cases, Superior Court. Isn't that interesting? Again, I'm just pointing out, it's like they really wanted him, so they went and got him there. They said, no, it's not going to be. And this isn't his only case. He has so many cases. Another one I'm reading where he has a convicted felon with extensive firearm history. He's arrested Monday and charged with threatening people with a gun. This is a 2014 case Richard shared. I'm not screen sharing it because they share an address, so I can't screen share it. But they tracked him down after a young woman and her family told police that they threatened him with a gun. I mean, this really feels like the classic Illinois situation. And he has a perfect excuse, of course, for having the assistant DA's address, right? They need to do a better job protecting assistant DAs. They could just give an address, a home address, to someone who's being, to anyone. Is that how it works? Or did he make that up? Because I don't believe much of what he says. Well, he did have a good excuse for what he said, though. Makes sense. Why he had he just got papers. He didn't ever send her a letter. He was just doing research to see if she had anything on her. Which just goes to show, again, he thinks like he might genuinely think that the world is out to get him, and versus just taking accountability, versus saying that he's the one with the problems, versus saying like, maybe I should change. And one last thing, which is almost funny, I feel like the board's like, didn't you take anger management programs? It's like, yeah, I took one. They're like, and you learned nothing. And I can't get over that. It's like they're drunk on their own Kool-Aid. It's like I wonder, it seems to me like they actually believe if you take a program that you're just going to be healed. And it's so insane. Like even the most devoted person, that's just the way human nature is, wants to change something about themselves. It's constant work. You don't just take a program. It's something that you will do probably for your whole life, constantly working, taking programs, reading classes, trying to figure out what's causing those character flaws, if you want to call it that. And it's an ever-evolving process. Here it's like, oh, you took a program, so your anger should be gone. It's like, why is that even part of your vocabulary? It's weird to me. But it's something that we just see in the DOC. They just think like there's this magic pill called a program that should fix everything. And if it doesn't, it's the inmate's fault. It's like, can't be the system that just expects people to change from programs. Anyways, there was a request for this hearing from one of my subscribers. That's why I did it. If you ever want me to do a specific hearing, feel free to email me. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy that I was emailed about this case because it is interesting. And I think it has a lot to do with the modern times of what just happened in Illinois and what's happening all around the world. It's just not making the news all around America. Anyway, thank you, Richard, for the info. And with that,
I just responded. We fought over the bat. When it came down to it, I choked him out.
Okay. So my question to you is, why did you go through all that work to hide the body instead of calling the authorities?
Sir, it was a misjudgment on my part. I didn't know the authorities. I was new in the area, and it was just.
I mean, our investigation is very clear. We have witnesses that ID'd you and I.
I've been, it's a dark time in my life, man.
And how long did you stay with him?
I stayed with Mark about a month.
About a month? I mean, something must have happened between you and Mark at that time.
Mark was crazy. He was down on everything. So what is this?
I think you know, John. John, you know why we're here. You know why we're here.
What?
I'm sorry to tell you, but Mark is dead. Okay? And you were the last person to see him alive.
This is the first time investigators mentioned that Mark is dead. It's been 26 and a half minutes, and they've never said this to him. And Green's reaction is nothing. He doesn't ask what happens. He doesn't show any grief. He just sits there.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a man whose crime was so intriguing and so captivating that it made it onto the popular show Anatomy of Murder, the podcast. And because of this, I was able to obtain tremendous amount of information. I'll leave a link to the podcast in the link below. But in a nutshell, this is what happened. This is, I think, just an abomination of the justice system. In 2009, the victim went missing. Eventually, the state of Iowa declared him dead in 2011 when they could not find him, even though his car, his wallet, all the information was still in the home. When the home was sold November 5th of 2012, they found his body in the basement, not well hidden, covered in some cat litter. At that point, they realized that they had a homicide on their hands, and they went out and actually through a Pomeranian and we can get into that later, was able to find the murderer who is sitting in front of us now. Now, this murderer was offered a 10-year plea deal, which he turned down. A jury found him guilty of second-degree murder, sentenced him to 50 years in prison, and this was in 2015 when that sentencing was handed down. So you might be asking yourself, how is he up for parole? Well, in short, he filed an appeal, and somehow he won the appeal. The appeal that he won was his attorney didn't explain to him that the 10-year deal he was offered, he should take. They have no documentation because it's client-attorney privilege. There's no recordings of that conversation. But for whatever reason, they said, yeah, okay, we believe you. I've never heard of anything like this. Probably neither have you. And then the DA went on record and said, you know what? I actually never felt that he should have gotten a 50-year sentence. I actually felt that this was a self-defense plea. I don't know why I charged him with first-degree homicide, which is what they did. You can't make this up, but that's what he says. I'll go through the information. So because of that, they decided not to retry the case, but to, again, offer him a deal. And that's why he is up for parole. And as we know, the Iowa Parole Board is completely incompetent. They are not going to ask any meaningful questions. As a matter of fact, his plan is to move in with a friend. The same exact identical situation that landed him here in the first place, living with a friend who he then murdered. He can't make it up. Again, I'll include the links in the description if you want to listen to the podcast before you hear this parole hearing, because I think listening to it, it will only just drive you more insane.
Is there anything new from the evaluation that you submitted?
No, there should be nothing to add to that currently.
Okay, I appreciate that. And what's the recommendation?
The recommendation is that we believe that he is qualified for release. He's met his, he's done what he needs to do, and he's ready to go.
Okay, so he's going to parole to a friend's house
in Florida.
Correct.
Okay. Very good, very good. Colleagues, do you have any questions before we get started?
I don't.
Okay, you can go ahead and bring the offender in.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, and they're ready to go. Just have a seat right there.
Hello, sir, and good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm John Green. My number is 622-3528.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Green. My name is Jesse Rincon. Today, my colleagues are Renee Schulte and James Moses will be conducting your interview today. I'm going to just explain the process, okay?
All right.
All right, so this interview is that's conducted today is considered to be in a public forum, meaning that the public and the media can listen in, but they cannot participate. We could possibly discuss confidential information such as your mental health, substance abuse, and medical history. Do you understand this, and are you willing to proceed?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So how this works is I'll start off by asking you to describe your crime in detail, what was going on in your life at that time, what brought you to prison. After that, my colleagues and myself might have a few questions for you to answer. After we've completed our questioning, I'll ask you if you have anything for the board that you prepared or like us to know at that time, so you'll have the floor at that time. Then we'll go into what's called deliberation, meaning that we're going to make a decision. Once we've made a decision, I'll come back to you and explain the decision to you the best I can, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's go back to the time of the crime. What was going on in your life? What happened? If you could please describe that to me, sir.
I was living with Mark Koster in Iowa, and my wife down in Florida and I, we had separated, and I had been invited by Mark to Iowa here. Mark and I had been friends for over 20 years, and he moved up to Iowa maybe 7 years before that time, thereabout, and he told me about it over the years. So I came up, was just sort of experimenting with the area, learning a little bit about Iowa, spending time with Mark. One day, early June, there was an altercation with Mark and I. We got in it. Sorry?
I didn't say anything.
We got in a fight that went too far, and I took his life, and sort of hid the evidence and didn't report it to the police.
So at that time, were you under the influence of anything?
Was I what?
Were you under the influence at that time?
No, sir. No, sir.
And at the time of the incident, was it just an altercation, or was it that serious that you felt threatened, or what was going on?
Yes, sir. I felt threatened. Mark hit me with the baseball bat from my per se blind side. I didn't know exactly, I just responded. We fought over the bat. When it came down to it, I choked him out.
Okay. So my question to you is, why did you go through all that work to hide the body instead of calling the authorities?
Sir, it was a misjudgment on my part. I didn't know the authorities. I was new in the area, and was just, I'm sure you probably heard people say before they were in shock. And if I could say that I was in shock, I was in shock. And it's just the way I did it.
Okay. My next question for you is, you're paroling to a friend's house, correct?
Correct, in Florida.
Does that friend know the extent of your crime?
Yes, sir, he does.
Okay, that was one of my, and then my last question for you right now is, tell me what you've learned from MRT.
MRT, well, it brought back a lot of things that I have known in my past and brought more up to date. To be honest, try to be a trustworthy person, to face my problems head on and not avoid them, sir. To make goals in life and commit to those goals by my actions, to try to reunite when I get out with family and past friends. I have several grandchildren and 4 sons, and reunite with them to try to repair, the damage that a decade has done by being with, out of their lives. To be a better moral person, helping out. In our MRT, we had to do volunteer work, and I volunteered in the library. I volunteered in my unit cleaning and just helping out, helping others in general. There was a few guys that were maybe a couple steps or more behind me in MRT, and I volunteer, and they asked for my help, and I tried to help them with the steps that they were involved in. A few times they would come up and ask me for, we'll just say coffee or something, and I gave it to them with no, didn't want anything back in return, and that's sort of what I learned. Also, I want to commit my life to changing morally, to be a better person to our community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sir, thank you for answering the questions I did have. I'm going to let my colleagues ask at this point. Renee, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Green. How are you today?
Good. Thank you.
Good. Could you talk to me about what your plans are related to work or Social Security, retirement? What are you looking at if we were to move you forward today?
Moving forward, I'm 65 years old. I will be residing with my friends. I'll be signing up for Social Security to help survive on. My best friend, where I'll be staying, he has MS and is mostly bedridden and could use various amounts of different types of help as far as transporting back and forth to doctor's visits, etc., things around the house. In that area, I have 8 grandchildren, So they range from age 1 to 17. So I'd like to, revisit, get acquainted with them, etc. Where I might find some part-time work and so forth, I will be up for doing that as I can.
Okay. So what do you think, as far as supports are concerned, that you need to be successful?
I'm sorry, your question?
What kind of supports might you need to help you be successful?
Well, support from the board to help me with my transition as far as interstate transfer to Florida. I was born and raised in Florida. I have virtually no criminal history at all, so I should be able to be accepted down there. The board could help me by agreeing to give me parole and let me serve the rest of my sentence on parole down in Florida. My friends have pretty much, Mike and Patsy Jaroche have committed to giving me a place to stay with, with a return for me helping them out. There's a lot to do with trying to reestablish myself as far as getting a driver's license, trying to get a vehicle to get around in, those steps that I'll just have to, take care of as I can.
All right, thank you. Thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
James? Yeah, thank you. How you doing, Mr. Green?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you, sir.
You're doing pretty good. I was curious, you talked about trustworthy and having better morals since the incident occurred.
Yes, sir.
That took place that led you there. If I was to ask you to share more of your values today that you didn't have back when you committed this crime, what would you say those values would be? Like, give me at least 3, but if there's more, then you can list more for me.
Value number 1, I would say, is problems. I'm going to have them. I need to address them immediately. Don't put them behind the to-do list, but to meet them head on. Commit to avoiding circumstances, people that aren't morally set. Learning to avoid those situations, and for people that are going in the right direction and need some help, is committed to help with them. Except that I want to be a better person and continue on with that.
And I asked that because you talk about trustworthiness. You mentioned wanting to reestablish, but be active and engage with your grandkids from 1 year of age to 17 years of age. So family, I would think, is another part of value. As my colleague mentioned, if we are to look at releasing you, and you talk about wanting to be better in the community, did I hear you say that?
Better unity?
No, better in the community.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So since we're talking about a potential transitioning, what are your thoughts to community service?
Uh, I'm all for helping out in the community, sir. Uh, for years, I was a blood donor. For a while, one of my sons was in American Red Cross. And for a couple of years, we helped out there, etc. Just in general, giving really gives back to the giver as far as the accomplishment of helping out.
Yeah. No, I
have, I have more grandchildren than that and older ones than that as well. But of the 8 that I was mentioning, 2 of them I've never helped. Half of the 8, 4 of them, I haven't really been in communication at all over the years. The other 4 I have. I've been able to phone calls and video visits and somewhat connect with them. So I've got a lot of work to do, mending, those relationships.
I'm going to concede, but those are my questions for you today. Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Okay, Mr. Green, like I told you earlier, that if you had anything you'd like the board to know at this time before we go into deliberation, you got the floor.
Well, I understand that Mark's family might be watching. I would again like to say that I'm truly sorry for my actions, that my participation in the events that took Mark's life, my actions, I'm not proud of the after effects, and I realize I did a lot of personal damage that I own that I shouldn't have done, and I'm truly sorry for. Mark and I, we met back in 1985. We worked together at a mobile gas station where we met. And during our years, we were roommates 3 different times in Texas area and down in Florida. He worked with me at 4 different locations, 5 different locations, I believe. One, we went fishing together. We played chess together. Mark was an astonishing chess player and beat me almost every time. I think the time or 2 that I did win, I think he actually let me win. But we were best friends. We were as close as brothers and really called each other brothers many times over the years. One special occasion that I recall, about a year after we had met, we were roommates, and Mark was a computer whiz. Without a computer, he came to me and he had found a computer, I believe it was at Radio Shack, that he wanted to buy the whole setup, and he couldn't afford it. He had about half of it. He told me, that he would teach me about computers because I didn't know anything about it if I'd go in halves with him and buy this computer. And he taught me into it. Well, he held up, he taught me about computers. We played, learned on the computers. This is before the internet days. And then years later, we stayed in touch on the internet, etc. I know family, Mark's family misses him. I also miss him. Um, and I'm truly sorry for the events that took place.
Thank you. I appreciate that statement very much. So at this time, we're going to do what's called going to deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision. So just sit back and be able to listen. Once we've made that decision, I'll come back to you and explain the best I can, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, thoughts?
Yeah, so in this particular case, we've reviewed a whole lot of information. It looks like we've got an A commit who's only committed one major crime with also hiding a body, which is another major crime. And he served all of his time, has done it well, has used his time to the best of his ability, completed a training and the treatment that's available to him. He looks even like he has a place to go with a friend with a that has checked out. So I will be supporting the department's recommendation for parole to the friend in Florida. I think I would add a mental health evaluation, specifically to help support the transition. I don't see substance use here or medications. I don't think those are necessary. And then I'm on board potentially for community service, depending upon what my colleague thinks.
Thank you. Renee James?
Yes, thank you. Looking at the time they've done, he is a commit. Tragic incident. Nevertheless, he was engaged throughout his time, being present while incarcerated, and has completed all that is required. I too am in agreement with my colleague, where I am in agreement with the DOC's recommendation. So I think it's PG 355 for potential interstate compact, a 20B for no early discharge, the 40A with the mental health eval. I think it is definitely the 40B I am in agreement with in terms of community service. We can discuss hours you think 40, 50 hours. That also too reinforces restitution as well with the case, and a 50A prohibition
Yeah, the thing I'm looking at is what has he done in prison, and his minimum discharge date for his minimum time served was in 10/13 of 2018. So he's way past that minimum date. Looking back and observing what he did within the institution is feasible. It's what we asked for. So I am too going to be in agreement with this DOC recommendation to release to Florida with the codes that were presented. I'm going to come back to you, sir, Mr. Green. We are in agreement. We are going to give you this release to parole. You heard us talk about some of the codes that we're going to put on besides your standard conditions of parole. Some of those codes will be do you have any questions for us this time?
No, sir. The middle, will that be done here in Iowa, here before I'm released to go, or will it be done down in Florida?
That will be done in Florida.
Okay.
Okay.
All
right.
PO there will help me with where I need to go. Okay.
Yes. Yep. So, sir, that will conclude our interview. You have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Y'all too. Appreciate it.
Good luck, Ms. Green.
And there you have it. They paroled him, and they're paroling him back to Florida where he had run away. They don't see anything wrong with that. They're paroling him to a man who's suffering from MS, who cannot defend himself. They don't see a problem with that. That's insane. Are you really going to parole a man who was living with another man when he murdered him? You're going to parole him to another man's home? A man who cannot defend himself? You can't take some extra precaution and say, you know what, I don't think that's a good residency plan for you. They're just going to take his word for it that his buddy knows he's a murderer, that the parole board's sending to live with him. You can't make this stuff up. You really cannot. And I don't believe for a second that the parole board verifies anything. And, you know, it's because they're useless. They're incompetent, in my opinion. I mean, they barely dive into any questions. Well, why did you kill him? You know, what will you do to move better on? And he says, I'm going to avoid people that aren't morally set, leading to avoid these situations and the people that are going to be in the right direction. So now he drags the person who he murdered through the mud, who, by the way, was a Marine with an honorable discharge. That's the man that he murdered. And yeah, but now it's all the guy's fault because he's not morally focused. You know, he murdered him. He hides him in the wall of the basement of his home, and just disappears and acts like nothing happened for years. Then he's caught. He has, well, listen to the podcast. You can hear the whole thing. He finally confesses. He says why he does it. He says that he was hit in the head with the bat. He took the bat away and crushed his neck. The autopsy said it would have taken about 2 minutes for him to kill him. And you know, we don't even know if that's true. We don't even know if he got hit in the head with the bat first, right? They're just taking that side of the story, saying, okay, that was true. We'll just say that's true. A jury finds him guilty. He somehow wins a bizarre appeal, which is he didn't understand the plea deal he had gotten. And then the DA just says, you know what? We'll just instead of retrying you on the appeal, we'll just give you the same deal that you turned down. And then he gets out on parole. And this parole board actually has the not naivety, just incompetence again to state, well, you're way above your guideline. And it's like, you're not way above your guideline. He was just re-sentenced 3 years ago. 2021. An unusual deal that will likely result in the early prison release of a man convicted of murdering his longtime friend was proposed by one of his prosecutors who believed the man should not spend the rest of his life in prison. Now, this prosecutor is nuts. He didn't just murder him. He hid the body and he ran away. Is there not retribution just for that? To me, the defendant dying in prison is not justice. This is the prosecutor. Can you imagine? Smith, who currently is deployed to Kosovo with the Iowa, I don't know what Smith is. That's the other prosecutor. Yeah, that's the other prosecutor. I guess, I don't know. Oh, no, is that this prosecutor who did it? Okay, whatever. The National Guard, supported by Green's second-degree murder conviction, is set aside in favor of lesser felony charges. That deal has been criticized by an assistant state attorney general who helped prosecute Green and by the defendant's attorney who represented Green when he was found guilty in the murder in 2015 trial. He was only found guilty in 2015. And here he is out in 2024. Okay, Green has admitted that he choked his friend to death in June 2009 during an argument, but that Koster had started the fight by attacking him first with a baseball bat. And they just take that for granted. Oh, of course, that's how it happened. Green was 49 at the time and much larger than Koster, who was 58. Green concealed Koster's body. So Green was 49 and larger than Koster, who was 58. Green concealed his body. So they're also believing that he attacked him with the bat. Okay. Body in the basement of Koster's house. What else sounds familiar? Him being bigger and stronger. Oh, then the guy who's suffering from MS, the guy's house he's going to go live in. Oh, sure, nothing can go wrong there. In the basement of Koster's house, underneath cat litter and other items that left a note to make it appear Koster left town. Carol Mann discovered the mummified body about 3 years later after he bought the house and was cleaning it. Can you imagine? I just bought a new house. I'm going to start my new life here in Iowa. Now there's a body. Can you live in that house again? I couldn't. Sac City police officers arrested Green in 2014 in Florida and charged him with first-degree murder. And listen to the podcast. It's quite interesting how they ended up catching him. Green declined a plea deal before his trial that would have made him eligible for release from prison in less than 5 years. He declined that deal. Instead, a jury convicted him of second-degree murder, which carried a minimum of 35 years in prison. Green was 55 when he was sentenced. Had Green accepted the plea offer in 2014, he likely would have been paroled 2 years ago. This was written in 2021. No, he would have been paroled more than 3 years ago. Iowa, paroles immediately. Smith wrote in his letter this week, there are some who have expressed displeasure with this arrangement because the defendant rolled the dice. I disagree that a defendant's right to justice is permanently forfeited when he elects to go to trial. Can you imagine? This is the DA taking the side of the murderer after a jury found him guilty, and he feels the need to overturn it Good luck, Iowa. Good luck. Green challenged his conviction and last week was in effect allowed to take the deal he declined before trial. Green pleaded guilty on Friday to voluntary manslaughter, willful injury, and burglary combined. They are punishable by up to 30 years in prison, but Green is eligible for parole immediately because he is already confined to jail and prison for total more than 7 years. Ooh, 7 years. However, the plea agreement says Green, who is 61, will not apply for parole for another 3 years. And he, that's why, so he applied parole immediately, which is why it's 2024, why we're seeing it. The new deal was criticized by a prosecutor and Green's original defense attorney. How funny is this? The original defense attorney criticizes the deal. The deal was criticized by a prosecutor and Green's original defense attorney because it was based on the allegation that the original plea agreement was not adequately explained to Mr. Green, according to court records. I'm sorry for interrupting every second with my commentary, but the more I read it, the more pissed off I am. His own defense attorney, again, because this is what he was let off because of the weakest, the absolute weakest reasoning. The plea deal of 10 years was not adequately explained to me. That will never, and we know the judge, whenever a plea deal is turned down, we know that the judge states, are you aware, blah, 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 right? Don't they do that? The original deal was discussed at length during a pretrial court hearing on October 14th, in which Green reiterated his desire to go to trial. But here it is, right here. But it's unclear whether Green's original attorney urged him to take the deal because conversations between protected by law. Hey, shut up. In Friday court hearing, Green said Costa was one of my best friends, and I'm truly sorry. This was a fight between friends that turned tragic, Smith wrote in his letter. This is, I believe, a genuinely remorseful defendant. I do not believe the de facto life sentence of a man the defendant's age is the right outcome here. Why do you believe him? He showed no remorse. You listen to his interrogation interview. I listened to it. There's nothing there. He sounds exactly like a cold-blooded psychopathic murderer. No emotion. He knew that the family would have been looking for him. He says nothing. He lets the body rot there. He would have continued to let the body rot without empathy or remorse. He could have sent in, if someone's feeling some empathy with a body being missing, thinking about your friend who's rotting away in a basement, all the family members who doesn't know where he is, that maybe you would have sent in, you could go to some payphone somewhere and call in the report of a body in the house, completely anonymously. That's someone with a little bit of empathy. There's no empathy here. And the idea that a DA somehow, I don't know, it seems highly, it doesn't seem legitimate to go and say, you know what, I don't want, because I don't know, he wins the appeal and say, we're not going to, against the other DA and against even his own defense attorney. Call me crazy, but this is nuts. Iowa's nuts. I don't know, what else can you say? At least this part of Iowa's nuts. The parole board's certainly nuts. That's all we've seen. Anyways, you can't make it up. Thank you, Sir Richard. I'll put the links in the description. With that, I'll let you go.
I just responded. We fought over the bat. When it came down to it, I choked him out.
Okay. So my question to you is, why did you go through all that work to hide the body instead of calling the authorities?
Sir, it was a misjudgment on my part. I didn't know the authorities. I was new in the area, and was just